Alec just keeps saying stuff like you're doing great and then farts and tries to blame it on you.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan here.
And this is episode 382, and it is a Patreon poll!
Splash
Ooh,
in the summer.
First game of the summer pool party, boys. How's the water
Hype.
feeling?
So cool. It's burning up outside and it's so refreshing.
Refreshing. This summer pool party, for those of you that might not know, every other week this summer, the months of June and July, you will have the chance to join us in a Patreon pool where you submit a game or two games to a much smaller pool of games that we will randomly select from rather than our retro master list. This week's game is a Patreon pool submission. Next week's game will not. But again, you will have a chance at the end of next week's episode and your game might be selected. So make sure that you're staying tuned, and all of our socials, definitely our Patreon for that.
I hate summer because it's too hot. But the summer pool party makes up for that a little bit because it's so hype.
It's my favorite thing we do in the year. I love it.
And based on how this episode goes, it will set the tone for the rest of the summer pool party.
That's
we
true.
will get there. Nolan, Kinney, according to you, what is one of the most overrated video games or video game series of all time? We're going to make some people mad. What is one of the most overrated games or series in your humblest of opinions?
Yeah. The list is long, is my problem.
Yeah, Nolan, I can't come up with one, and Nolan can't only choose one.
Oh, can I specify here?
Okay.
That
Sure.
overrated does not mean bad.
No. It might even mean I like it.
Right? Exactly.
Right. So,
exactly. Because I'm not going to say it, but I would allow for someone to say that Final Fantasy VII is overrated.
Sure.
And you could make an argument for it.
I can't, but people could make an argument.
I couldn't
you
either. But sure, maybe.
I won't.
I think there's some easy ones.
I think that this is an easy one. It'll make you mad, Dustin. Oh, okay, actually, I have two. One's going to make Dustin mad. One's going to make everybody mad. Okay. The first one is
I'll
Assassin's
represent
Creed,
everybody.
but not modern Assassin's Creed. The entire thing. The entire
Goodness.
series. Yes.
Even the first few?
Yes. See, it's just never been my thing, which is like a different question, but I don't think that it was as revolutionary as people claim that love that series. And of course, it's fallen out of favor with recent games.
Sure.
The other answer is Pokemon.
I think there's something to be said there, Nolan. I think there is.
I used to love the series. When I say I used to, I loved the first like 6 games. Right. Now, up until like Black and White, those releases. So I played a good amount of the series and enjoyed it. Since then, it's been the most like annoying presence in gaming to me. The fans, the games themselves, I'm done with that series.
Well, I think that's a series that the fans hate more than anybody else. Like,
sure.
Here's the thing. Pokemon could have been Zelda and Mario. Zelda and Mario have continued to have stellar games year after year and have had some standouts. Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, different things, right?
Yes.
Pokemon has over and over changed a few things and just gave us another Pokemon. And
you know what Pokemon has, though, is the money.
Sure they do.
Well, I think those other two
They're
do.
wild,
Pokemon Go was
but
successful.
Yeah.
They're wildly successful, so I don't know.
I will give you some easier ones. Basically, any game that comes out every year. Okay, so like I'm talking about some of those sports games, FIFA, Madden, and I think most people would agree that those are overrated because it really is not even changing.
It's just like the new iPhone. Like new iPhone.
Yeah,
came out,
I don't feel like they're especially overrated. I feel like people know what they are. People love them, but like they love them because that's their niche, and I don't know. I get it, but
Kenny, do you have any for us?
I'll say one just because it's not my game. It's probably completely unfair, and I'm gonna make Nolan mad. But the Souls series, just Dark Souls and
Holy crap!
yeah. See, people are weirdly cultish about them
60
because they like
options.
to suffer. I don't know. I shouldn't hate playing a video game.
Oh Lord, that's a bad answer, Kenny.
I will add one more, and I think the Uncharted series. I haven't played Uncharted 4, and I think that one is probably a standout. But 1 through 3, I played it and had I did not care about Nathan Drake, and the loop was not rewarding.
Important question though: did you watch the movie?
No, with Spider-Man in it?
Yeah.
No, did you?
Because I did, and let me tell you, when you watch the movie, it will solidify your opinion even harder.
You will hate it
was
even
so
more.
bad.
GTA honorable mention.
With our suggestions just here, I think we really did hit the mother load. These games are monumental for some, but they're just a momentary blip on our radars. Far from optimum. Mommy. Like in our retro game of the week, Mother 3.
Overview.
Mommy 3 is a
Stop.
is a JRPG for the GBA in the year 2006.
It's J. It is J, but it's a silent.
100%.
It's a silent
You know what's
J.
super funny about this, Nolan?
What?
Man, some things never change.
What? I said the same thing in Mother 2.
In Earthbound,
Earthbound,
you said
probably.
it's not Japanese. Like you did, Nolan.
It's
No
very
way.
It's
You
very
did,
J.
Nolan.
It's very J, but it's got a capital A as well.
Well, I put in my notes parentheses J RPG.
And I think you basically did the same thing for Mother 2.
That's so funny. I swear I didn't go back and listen.
It's
to that.
like it's like they're games in the same series or something.
Yeah.
It's so J that it remained J. Mother 3 never came to North America, never came to EU. It remained a Japan-only release, and there's been, surprisingly with the cult following, never a remake or anything to bring it to a North American audience. Now, they certainly will if they're going to do Live Alive. Then they're for sure going to bring about Mother 3 at some point. I
think
put them
so.
in a comparable category.
I could see it.
But this is late in the GBA's life cycle. So they had the potential to take everything that the developers learned in creating good, solid, good sounding, good looking GBA games and doing it to the best of their ability. They is Brownie Brown and HAL Laboratory, those are the developers, published by Nintendo.
HAL Lab is pretty goated. They've been working
heard
with Nintendo since the NES, actually.
Okay.
You'll know them mostly from Smash Bros. That's like...
The first 2 Smash Bros. Games?
Yeah, I think... did they not do more than that? Maybe.
I don't know.
But
But
they definitely
did
did...
Mother
They
and
did.
Kirby. They worked on Kirby.
Yes, from Kirby to Pokemon Snap to Smash.
Wow.
Like they make games for Nintendo. They work closely,
Pokemon
but they make
Snap.
bangers. They make bangers.
Interesting. And if you haven't pieced it together yet, Mother 3 is a part of a series called Mother. And it's the third, believe it or not, in the series. We did play the second in the series, which in Japan was called Mother 2, but when it came over here to the States, it was just called Earthbound. And we recorded an episode for that, episode 41 in July of 2016.
Don't go listen to that. Do not go listen to that.
No, honestly, by then, we sounded
Really?
good. It was
Better.
good quality.
Yeah.
But we sounded like we just woke up. We're bored. We didn't want to be there. It's the slowest moving
I know.
thing to listen to.
I definitely was the worst of the three, I think. Because I was sleepy.
I thought about repeating our intro conversation at the start of this episode. We talked about out of the classic Final Fantasy character tropes, red mage, black mage, white mage, fighter, who are each of us? And we spent about a half hour, it felt like, talking about that. So
Kenny's red mage.
that's what I said.
Some things never change.
No.
Some things never change.
If you get this right, then that's true.
Okay.
What did I say about you? Which class were you?
Thief.
There's no way. Okay, you got it right.
I did?
All right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Although Mother 3 is in the Mother series, it is only tangentially related to the rest of the Mother series. I think for the most part, they're all standalones. Although in Mother 3, there are some references to the other two that you won't catch if you haven't played them. And this is the final entry in the Mother series. There's never been another Mother game since.
Watch your spoilers.
Wow.
Please, I'll ask.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of story, but you know what's funny? Most of my knowledge of this series comes from Smash, just from trophies and weird references. Like
you knew the lead character's name or one of the characters' names based on playing that character in Smash.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the story here is that twins Lucas and Klaus, or Lucas and Ken, if you watched our first play, along with their mother, Hinawa, or 3, which we named her in our first play, are visiting Grandpa when their village, put your hand down, and surrounding forest are set ablaze by a mysterious pig mask army. I'm in the middle of telling the story, Kenny. You can't interrupt that.
I had a revelation, and when I have a revelation, sometimes I interrupt you to say it, and I held it out, so you're welcome.
Well, I didn't finish my story. Revelation 21:8. Go.
Okay. How great is it to have twins that have the same name just mixed all up?
Luker?
Wow.
Klaus and
Klaus
Lucas?
are the same.
I didn't know that.
It's all the same letters. I didn't.
Did you do
until
that on
just
your
now.
own just now?
I just did
Okay.
it right now on my own.
I will give you something for that.
A cookie or what?
No,
a
this,
thumbs
right
up?
there.
Dang,
Yeah,
that's,
thumbs up.
that's worth a lot these
That
days.
was a really big thumb. Hold your thumb up one more time.
So the fire is set in and around the village, and you start the game actually as Hinawa's husband, the twins' father, Flint, helping to put out the fire and rescue his family. And it's a JRPG, so I'm sure you end up killing God at the end, but I never got that.
I didn't. You think God?
Oh, that's how JRPGs work.
Especially this
It
series,
is.
it gets weird.
That is the trope. Yeah, that actually might be mild for this series because if you haven't played Earthbound or didn't listen to episode 41 or are unfamiliar with Mother 3, this is one weird mother.
Gameplay.
Let's start here. Nolan, you on this game and Earthbound had an issue with it being a J in the RPG. Why?
Yeah. It's not an issue. It's just an observation.
Okay.
It's so J that the reason I say that is because it's not anime characters and like fantasy sword fighting like you typically get with a JRPG. It's more of like a westernized look, like cast of characters intentionally. There's a cowboy in this game.
Flint,
So,
is it kind of a cowboy, right?
So that's all. It's just like an observation. I don't have an issue with it. I just think it's funny.
It's so weird that they did lean on a Western trope and they never sent it over here for us.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I love about this, though. And another thing about the gameplay that we should make clear is that it's going to be hard for us to convey the charm at play. Not in like graphics, or I mean, maybe in graphics and other things, but as part of the gameplay, there's this very distinct signature that they've put on this series and this game in particular, and to like constantly have you being like, whoa, what is gonna happen next? And it's just such a weird experience.
Well, I think it's translated to everything: graphics, story, characterizations, characters, animations. My wife walked by a couple times this week, and while I was playing, and one time she said, "Is that Stardew Valley, or is that a Stardew Valley?" Because like it has that code. There's something about it.
We'll get
that
there
has
later, but
that vibe
Stardew Valley may or may not be in my notes.
in your notes.
That's so funny that she said that. But yeah. It's so that's all it is. It's just like
fair.
Yeah. It's their view of us, but still very Japanese. It's great. It's a juxtaposition.
When we come across JRPGs, I always think it's helpful to first address what is comparable to other JRPGs for people that have played it before. Kenny, what?
Oh, I was just going to say everything in terms of gameplay. The mechanics of this game, with one exception that's kind of novel that we'll talk about, the mechanics of this game are very standard RPG fare. And not in bad ways, in good ways.
In familiar ways.
But this is, yeah, you are getting what you expect when you boot up an RPG and play this game.
You are navigating a top-down overworld with a small party. Sometimes it's just one person. Sometimes it's a few.
Expected.
You have a non-random battle with enemies that you see on the screen. So this isn't the random battles that you get in the Final Fantasy
They're
series.
avoidable.
This is more of the visible battles that I always link to Chrono Trigger.
I do too. I love those. I like a good randomized, encounter. But I also really appreciate when we come across a game that has this kind of format.
I can handle either.
But once you get into these battles, it's turn-based skirmishes with multiple attack options, very JRPG-esque there. And so all of that, the setup is relatively JRPG, story-heavy, a few cutscenes here and there as it's moving the story along. I think largely it's the presentation that's so unique.
Definitely.
Yes.
The simplicity across all of those things you just named is what's great about it. It's not like some JRPGs that overcomplicate and introduce like mechanic and system after system, and you're just like, please stop, let me just play the game. This one just lets you play a JRPG.
Some of that is because it's handheld, and
Probably.
like necessity, but like good necessity. Them like leaning on needing to be simple and visually clear, but some of that is also just not depending on getting overly convoluted with the stuff. They have a solid core of gameplay, and then they dress it up in this Mother 3/Earthbound style humor and storytelling, and that to me is the hook for these games.
Is part of it cheating? Because instead of trying to teach you mechanics or things through in the world, they just break the fourth wall. They have frogs that talk to you. They have characters that look around to make sure all the other characters are gone and then talk to you and tell you what you need to know.
One of my favorite ones was someone being like, yeah, to pull that up, I think it has something to do with, or you'll feel something in your right index finger, and then they're like, I don't know, it has something to do with an R button.
Yeah, like they just straight up tell you what to do without trying to hide it at all.
Yeah. Which is great, because I hate when games are trying to be so immersive that like they're like,
I don't know,
ignoring it and like trying to teach you but doing it in story or world. It's very self-aware. It's done tactfully. You can break the fourth wall and it be obnoxious. You can do this sort of humor and it not deliver. And especially when you're taking a game and then translating it, and we'll talk about that process as well, it can be really easy for jokes to not work from here to here. And the fact that this game had me just laughing, like smiling, grinning, rolling my eyes, groaning, but in good ways, like at all the right times, they absolutely nailed it on the humor, and I love that stuff. It's so funny to me.
Having Final Fantasy VII as my first JRPG caused me to really have an affinity for gritty stories in gritty worlds.
Edgy characters.
That's not this series.
Nope.
Particularly Earthbound. That was one of my issues with Earthbound. It was too light, too frilly, too fluffy. There didn't seem to be much depth or sense of urgency. That changes here.
Okay,
although it begins with a light, fluffy presentation, and you still get some of that throughout. Quickly, this game goes into some of the darkest, most like real things that you experience in JRPGs, which is insane.
I really like this. This device of telling the story with silliness and like flowers and everything's like funny and nice. And then boom, you get hit by a truck with like a death, like with something very serious. And it's like, whoa, they are actually telling a story here. It's not going to just be like the world's ending, you have to save it. And that's a critique I have of a lot of even some Final Fantasy games, like some of the earlier Final Fantasy games. There's just a lot to be desired in terms of like plot. but this one like is moving and there's a pace to it, and every once in a while they'll remind you, hey, we thought about this story and we're telling you something so you'll feel something. That's very unique in this genre, and it's certainly unique on this console.
And it might happen at some point. It's a JRPG, so it's fairly lengthy, especially for a handheld title, which is super interesting. But there's no... It's fairly linear, for the first at least couple of chapters of like walking you through one story moment to the next. And sometimes JRPGs wait a little bit until it gives you a quote unquote open world experience. And maybe it does that here. Maybe you've got to get the airship or whatever. But it is a pretty linear storytelling experience here where you have a few battles in between, maybe a boss battle, a lot of story moments though. And that's kind of the primary focus of this game, it seems.
Yeah, and they kind of use the device of rotating party members to keep that linearity going. You'll usually have choice of like party members, and maybe late in the game you do. I don't know. I didn't get there yet, but at least towards the beginning, you're having rotating party members, which I usually don't like. Final Fantasy 13 is the only one that I'm like, I enjoyed that, where your main controllable character changes and stuff. But here it didn't bother me. Mostly because I didn't have time to get attached to any one character or party format before something else in the story happens. So it doesn't bother me. It works here.
Yeah, the pace of the story does help that. I'm with you. I want to have a character that's my hero character, my like who I'm really tracking and playing.
Cloud.
Yeah, exactly. I want to have the protagonist, that everything else sort of revolves around. So when you don't have that as much, it can be a little daunting, but it works well for storytelling and world building and giving you some variety. And so I'm all for that.
I want to talk about the battle system.
Yeah.
Yes,
because while we did say it's expected, familiar, normal fare for RPG, there is something that is like designed for me in it. I absolutely love the what they did by tying in other elements of the game into the gameplay, and that is with the like rhythm system when it comes to the battles. That was not in any of the other Mother games. This is a new feature where each battle that you encounter has music to it, obviously, but it's not always the same, just like normal battle music. It'll be different depending on what you're fighting. And that's fine. You could play the game without knowing this, I think. I don't even remember them telling me, but you can time inputs when you attack to combo, and it needs to be in rhythm with the music. That is the most simple thing, but great. That is best. That's the best.
It could be simple. Okay, yes, it is a mechanic they eventually tell you about a little bit. Honestly, this is not going to surprise y'all. I think at some point you step on an ant and the ant tells you. Yeah.
That makes sense.
And so it gives you a little bit, but the ant also ends up saying something like, you don't have to know this to play the game or beat the game. So like it's not a mandatory thing. You might the first time I came across it was accidental because I'm just kind of mashing a button and then you get a couple hits, and after that happened a couple times I was like, hold on, there's something there, and I looked a little bit more into it. I think it's a good idea. I don't think the implementation is perfectly there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you say that because you found it to be inconsistent, or do you say that
absolutely inconsistent? And for me, for what works for one person might not work, and some of this might have to do with emulation, but often it was connected to the music, and for me it was the offbeat. I was having to hit on the offbeat. I don't know if that was working for y'all, but there's something else that you can do. I don't know if you discover this. You can put your opponent to sleep with certain moves that if you do, the music kind of dulls, and you're able to hear the heartbeat of the enemy that you put to sleep, and you're supposed to be able to do it based off that heartbeat, which is super interesting. Again, I don't think it works as well as the idea.
Yeah, I sit right in between you two. I love the concept. I love the concept even of having an icing kind of feature where you don't need it, but that it's a lot of fun and adds flavor and color and effectiveness if you do know it. And I thought super cool concept. Loved it. I I felt like certain enemies and background musics were easier to do successfully, even looking up the rhythm. And so I found sometimes it felt a little more intuitive and I could totally get it to work, and sometimes I was sort of like, I feel like this should be working and it's not.
Same, yeah.
Maybe that's experience. So like they could fine tune that, but the concept is so good. I'm fully in Nolan's camp on that one. Like, please.
The depth there that's just there for you to find is very satisfying. I said I find it inconsistent at times, but I do think there's a strategy in place by the developers, and I think it was me. I think I was the problem. I think over time I'd be able to grasp that mechanic, and if you do, it's very powerful and very satisfying. Didn't have to do it. Love that it's there. Also, about the battles, I do love that there's some strategy in place. At first glance, it looks very cookie cutter and very like just choose auto attack, but it's not. Your techniques and the PSI abilities are vital to succeeding in the game because enemies are strong. Bosses are strong, and you can't just strong arm your way usually. You kind of need to think about like how you're going to go about it. And again, at first glance, you would think that's not the case, but I do think the battle systems actually pulled off really well.
One of the things that I love most about the system, and I believe this was the same in Earthbound, but there is a rolling HP gauge. I think this is so fun.
It was
so cool.
It's like a odometer. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or like on a car.
But it's ticking down.
Well, if you get hit, or it's ticking up if you throw a potion or something, or eat a slice of cheese that, depending on whether or not the character likes cheese, adds a certain amount of
Flint
HP.
loves cheese.
Ridiculous.
Great.
So amazing.
But you can there was an enemy that I fought. It teaches you this early by putting you on an enemy that does like a death attack. And when it dies, it attacks you for 200, 300 HP, which is more than you have. But since it's a rolling odometer, your HP will start decreasing, but if the battle ends or you throw a potion or do something before it hits 0, you're fine. You're still alive. I thought that was so creative and so much fun to play with.
It's so simple. These changes are so simple, but no one else did this.
It's kind of like a death saving throw in D&D. Like, it gives you one more chance to like survive if you need to.
It's a great mechanic. I absolutely love it. I love the visual of it too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I loved that, I hated the fact that I was always out of inventory space.
Yeah, that was whack. I honestly was like, this doesn't need to be here.
Yes, and they know it because another wild character you find these sparrows along the way that will chirp and then talk to you in English and then say, I'm going to go back to chirping now. And then it will, but there's one bird that tells you that they even know it because one of the birds say something like, you're going to run out of inventory space, so eat your food when you have an opportunity. But like, if you know that's a problem, fix it. But it wasn't just them. So many JRPGs had this kind of issue.
Common problem, and like, especially handheld, both in screen real estate and in memory size and whatever else. Like, I get that it's something that you want to make a limitation for a number of reasons, gameplay reasons included. I hated that all of your, if I'm remembering this correctly, you guys can correct me, all of your equipment though lived in the same inventory. So the fact that
except key items.
Yeah, but the stuff you're like just your
goods.
Just backpack, like your equipment.
In Earthbound, they were all in one, so it was more of a problem. In this one, they split key items into a different, so they tried to alleviate it some, but not enough.
But your equipment is still in there. So, like, the stuff you're wearing, you have no incentive to keep anything but the very best item. And I love in RPGs the ability to swap out, situational choices. And, like, I didn't feel like I had that room here because my space was so limited.
Or at the very least, be able to sell the items or armor you're not wearing or using anymore. Right. But it's a story thing where currency is not even created at the beginning of the thing. So, like, currency becomes a thing later on, but you can't, at the beginning, you just have to drop it. That feels bad.
I never felt without, though. Like, going through the story, they give you healing items, and I have the same problem as Dustin in this regard, where like I don't like to use consumables in JRPGs because I'm like, what if I need it later when I need it now and I should use it now? I got over that and was like, I'm gonna eat the nut bread or the cookie or whatever when I need it, and it heals you well. And because of that odometer mechanic we talked about, you're gonna need to do that more often than in other games. So Yes, the inventory thing was super annoying, but it motivated me to actually use my stuff.
One of the things that I hated most, and maybe this is not an aged conversation. In the battles, we commented on it during our first play. It never got better for me. It's a choice. I strongly dislike the distorted animated backgrounds during battle.
Oh, really?
It grew on me. I
too.
started
Wow.
I
Immediately
started
grew on me.
disliking it, but the simplicity and charm of it, and yes, they're trippy and simple, but they're different, from like enemy
Yeah,
fight to enemy fight. It I get how you could hate it. I'm perfectly fine with that, but I enjoyed it.
It's on theme for their theme. They've created a theme. It's the mother theme, and it's theirs. I don't want a static background of the environment you're in. I've seen it a million times. I kind of really started to enjoy it like immediately. I'm surprised
Glad you
disliked
did. Oh, really?
Like visually, it wasn't nice to look at. You mean?
It's disturbing. I don't feel like it even fits. I know that the whole theme is
They're
quirk,
psychic.
but
There's PSI.
that's psychedelic. Well,
They're psychics.
it's only 2 of them that are psychic.
Yeah, but
or
it's-
have psi ability.
it's still themed.
Or PSI. I don't know. That for this series has never been something that I enjoyed. And there's a couple of other games that do it as well. I've never liked it. Like, is that a Breath of? No, I feel like Breath of. What am I trying to say?
Fire?
Not Breath of the Wild. Breath of Fire. Is that the one with the terrible clouds and the music that was like?
No, I don't think
was
so.
that?
I
What
don't.
series
I
is
know
that?
what you're talking
I don't
about.
remember.
I don't know.
Well, yeah,
It was harsh.
someone will correct us. That was harsh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's harsh. That's a word that I describe for these backgrounds,
fair.
and I don't like it. I'm glad that you do. Let's do one more thing here in the gameplay because we're experiencing the story here. We've addressed it some. It's dark. It's heavier than some of the other mother themes. The story, along with the changing party, does that work for you? Kenny mentioned it earlier, and I really lean his way of I kind of like and need a protagonist, and maybe Lucas becomes that, but you're going from for the first little bit, our first full chapter, you're playing as the dad. For the second chapter, at least, you're starting with a thief that you wasn't even a part of the family,
Yeah.
and so like I don't like that being so spread out for so long. Although I do like the storytelling component of it.
Sure.
It's a hard thing for me.
I don't need the main character thing. I get it. I like it when I have it. But for this game, I let go of that because to me it reminds me more of like Live Alive in some ways, where it's storytelling through different perspectives, and in this case, they all happen to be like connected and tied together in a very like real way. When I go in thinking, okay, Ness was the main character of Earthbound, Lucas is this new character, it's gonna feel good and familiar. And you get to play instead as his father looking for his family, I'm in. And he's a cowboy. I don't see the vehicle of the story and changing of characters, I think works so well here, and I'm fully on board. I did not miss maxing out Lucas and the rest of my party.
I'm more in Dustin's camp here. It works for this game, but I just wish like I had my main character a little sooner. Like mix it up, but do it like following the tree trunk of what we care about.
And for me, it's not just main character, it's party. There's something in storytelling that when there's a band together, a group that
Ooh,
grow,
yeah.
evolve, change together, that really does something for me. Again, you might eventually get that here, but for the first many hours, you don't.
You want that fellowship.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, the majority of the time in both chapters, you're single player. Like you're just one person running around, and if there is another person, they might not even fight in battle because they're scared. Or something,
Alec
like,
just keeps saying stuff like you're doing great, and then farts and
Right.
tries to blame it on you.
It's just emotional support or de-support.
The
Your
dog,
Boney,
though.
I know, Boney. That's his
Boney.
real name.
Yeah, not Brutus.
What did we name the dog? Brutus?
Fire with a T.
Fire. Because we messed up Shire. Yeah. So I again love it for the storytelling component. Don't love it for the gameplay component.
Aged.
Might be the best graphics I've seen on the console.
When it's so late, it's not easy to do, but they took the right notes, right?
They took the right notes. It's late, but like, and also this game went through like 3 different consoles. It was supposed to originally be on the disk drive on N64. It got moved to like, okay, let's do GameCube instead. Actually, no, it started on the idea of it started in the SNES era after Earthbound, but then it got delayed, and then they're like, finally, let's do it on GBA. So I saw some concept art for the 64 release that they were gonna do. And so it was like Flint and his like get up. So they had the pieces there, and then they translated that somehow into GBA format, and the pixel art is so vibrant and sharp. It looks so good. So good.
One of the things that I'm so glad they changed in the development process was deciding not to go 3D. They were tempted. They thought about it because everybody else was.
Agreed.
And they changed it to
so
2D.
Glad.
There's something about 2D that lasts, especially compared to early 3D, which does not last. But yeah, I don't know if it had to be on GBA. Like, I feel like this could have been but because while it looks very good for GBA, I feel like it looks like a really good, and man, maybe this is just blurred thinking, but like, it wouldn't have been good Nintendo 64. I don't really know GameCube that well. Super Nintendo, I feel like it could have been successful and done well on. It works for GBA. I'm just saying that I don't know if it doesn't feel like a GBA exclusive to me like some GBA titles
We
do.
got the best timeline with the GBA release. GameCube could have worked, but they would have had to do some sort of 3D components in terms of like 2.5D or something, because this on a GameCube would not release. They wouldn't release this looking game on a GameCube.
Switch, it would have been a perfect Switch release.
Well, that's the thing. This game... Okay, let's talk about the Stardew Valley thing just really quick in visuals, because that's what I immediately thought of, and I was like, dude, for sure Stardew guy was influenced by this game specifically, because the art style of this, to me, is the blueprint for every indie pixel art JRPG and whatever top-down view for the next... When did this come out? 03?
This came out in 2006.
I mean, 6. For the next like 10 to 15 years, indie developers would use this kind of pixel art.
It's a great style.
It's monumental.
It's charming. It's high quality,
lasting.
Yeah,
you know, like it's kind of like age proof.
Looks
here.
recent. Yes,
absolutely. What I really like about the graphics, the big chunky boss sprites for your enemies, they're fairly large as well.
Yeah.
But the bosses, like that first, the first boss you fight. Like big boss you fight looks so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like even today, that sprite work is so strong, potent. There's something so good about it.
Yeah.
Chunky is a big word for it, but like that works there.
There is one problem though. You want to enjoy those chunky, beautiful, sprite-tastic graphics, and so you run out to pick up a copy of this game and throw it into your GBA. You're going to have a very hard time if you don't speak Japanese.
I know it.
Well, I do. So that's how I was able to play this week.
So, Kenny, you're the only one that
Perfect.
don't know
Well, then
Japanese?
I had a problem since I am not cultured like you guys.
Yeah.
I had to depend on the fan translation that exists for this game.
Sure.
I know we've talked about it a little bit. That's a hard thing to do well. There are a lot of games we have ridiculed for poor translation, and it's an easy thing to flub on.
And that's the devs doing it. Or the publishers.
And that's like it being like official.
Yeah.
Or probably like hiring someone to do the translation.
Mm-hmm.
This translation is top notch. It's so good. The humor doesn't fall off, which would be easy to do with this kind of humor, and clear, like just super well done.
Yep.
But you're going to have to play this game creatively to be able to get access to it.
Nice. And that's what happens when you've got a community of gamers that love and continue to support, and Nintendo doesn't get in the way of.
I'm surprised they
Right.
didn't, honestly.
They recently just made a comment about like emulation stifling creativity, which is just
In what way?
In what world?
What are you talking about?
But like, why would Nintendo not be honored that a community of fans have come around and put out multiple versions of a translation patch so that a much wider audience could play it today,
Valve would be.
Yeah.
Name the company would be.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous. Oh, please don't play our games. Just let them die.
Let them die in
You
obscurity.
serious?
But I totally agree. This English patch, it's one of those where within the first few minutes you forget that it's even an English patch.
For real.
Yeah.
I definitly did.
Not one error
No, it was
that
awesome.
I came across.
The only thing that I disagree with, and it might be an accurate translation, but that I wish they had said differently, was the phrase they used to let you know the default character selection was happening.
I don't care.
I don't care is a terrible way to express that you don't want to put in a custom name and you want to use the default. Again, it may be accurate, but that was really confusing to me and kind of gross. But besides that, flawless.
That's certainly accurate, and I'm assuming because of the quirk of the game and the series,
Absolutely.
that sounds exactly what it'd be. But the problem is, I care more than you would ever know
Right.
what their name is.
I care,
So I'm not gonna-
but I also care to use the defaults.
Right, and so it should just say default, but then that wouldn't be the Earthbound or the Mother Flare.
For you, it
know?
should say
So
I care.
I
Which
care
is even more.
tremendously.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
click on it and it gives you the default name. Easy fix.
Music. It's so good. So, okay.
And so many tracks.
That
They're changing it all the time.
And they had to for the enemies because of the whole different
I guess for that,
interaction
yeah.
thing.
Yes,
They
yes.
didn't have to all the other places too though. And there's just music, different music, great music.
There's a
better
reason
music.
for me to open up my menu and look at text and move items
Sure.
around. It's a great song that plays when you pull up your menu. The title track, each battle theme. When I got a new one, I was like, "Ooh!" Now I get to figure out the
Yes.
rhythm on this one. It's ridiculous, dude. It's so good. This it makes me want to go make a relaxing GBA playlist, but it's just gonna be this soundtrack. I
It's
feel
just
like.
this soundtrack,
Just this soundtrack.
randomized. Yeah.
Clint actually shared with me, Clint's community member shared with me a recording of a Mother track. It might be the theme, I'm not as familiar, but that Clint did with all of his own instruments in
Ooh.
his recording studio.
Very nice.
That's fun.
Shared it with me privately, but should share it publicly so
Yeah.
that others can check it out too. But it's really cool when community members create.
Yeah, that's
I
the
know. Is it Super Gamer Guys? Someone within our community is making pixel art
It's
of
Super.
the games each week.
Yeah.
The Super that we play each and every
Love
week.
it.
So I'm excited to see this one. But yeah, one of the things that impressed me most musically for sure, graphics, but with the graphics, the animations are what impressed me most. From Flint adjusting his cowboy hat often.
When it's game time.
Yeah, when it
Come on,
that,
bro.
there's so many animations here. Something you probably didn't get far enough in the game to notice, guys. And this isn't animation alone, but this is graphics as well, guys. Over time, those frogs that you come across as save points are gradually wearing more and more clothes and goofier outfits. It's
great.
It's that kind of charm that is from graphics to music to the way that you play with the music system in the combat to the animation. Everything along the way is thought about. It might not be your taste, but you've got to say that it was done with love, affection, and intentionality.
Yeah.
If you want to play the JRPG,
Yes.
then it's not as expensive as I would have thought. $62 used loose or $116 new.
I would have thought more as well.
Not bad.
That's affordable. And I've seen people in our community where you can get a cartridge with the translation
Yes,
on there.
I've seen that too. That's great.
So
It's even
that's
better.
also super nice.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status. That's our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Nolan, Mother 3.
Mother 3. Not enjoying this game is like not enjoying free ice cream. It's such a gift. I mean, there's so much charm to make it stand out from anything at the time, and even now, it's still up there of like, whoa, this is a different experience. I can clearly see its influence on the indie scene and the last decade graphic style. Undertale, dude. Undertale is like a love letter to the game.
It's Mother 4.
It's Mother 4. Like, come on, it's really prevalent in a lot of indie titles. Stardew Valley, another one. They were setting standards with this one, whether they knew it or not. And am I upset we didn't get it in US? Sure, but maybe it being a Japanese title simply made the cult following even stronger, resulting in a fantastic translation patch and references in other games. And the Japan-ness of it is sort of what makes it the game that it is. And the Western nature of the characters and setting just add to it, and it's like a snowball effect of charm. NGP for sure. I will be finishing the game. Please don't spoil anything in Discord or anything. It's so good.
That's one yes. I agree. What I didn't like about Earthbound, and I still give it my vote for New Game Plus status, if I recall correctly, we all did. What I didn't like, though, in the frivolity of it is remedied here. It is still frivolous, but with a depth and a severity, and there's just a depth there. I'll stick with depth.
Yeah.
That I do enjoy. I don't think it's perfect. For me, with a JRPG, I like party-based. I like it even a little bit more gritty, a little bit less lighthearted. But you cannot deny the quirk. You cannot deny the affection. They just don't make games with this kind of attention to detail anymore, for the most part. Sound like a retro gamer right there. It is easily and certainly my new favorite Mother game.
Ooh.
And it certainly gets my vote for New Game Plus status. Mother 3 gets a thumbs up from me. Kenny, let's end with you.
Yeah, not a surprise. You guys nailed it here. I'll also just say, for sure, New Game Plus status. This one seems obvious to me. The entire series is quirky and fun. And this one delivers. It's not wildly innovative, but it's so good in its storytelling and the like solid delivery of the things it does do that I would have a hard time feeling like somebody couldn't enjoy this game. Like it's one of those that if you're like, oh no, I don't like Mother 3, I'd be like, oh, we shouldn't hang out. Probably, like it's a judge of character kind of game almost for me, because it's I don't know, it's human and hilarious and funny and good. And I gotta say, Dustin, you should be glad that this means we've redeemed the GBA fully.
Redeemed, yeah. It's my new favorite handheld again. After last week's disaster.
New Game Plus status.
Which means Mother 3 is New Game Plus certified, but what did you think? 45% on our YouTube poll said yes, it's worth playing today, which what does that mean? It just means that 2% said no, go play something else.
That's tiny.
Yeah, very tiny. I think we've had a 1 before, probably on a Mario or something.
2 is respectably
That's so small, though. That's
53% have never played it before.
Because they don't live in Japan. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So 98% of our fan base I'd hang out with.
Okay.
Nice. That's a good stat.
Good stats. Good stats.
Many of you wrote in. Would love if we could include all of your thoughts. So many came in within the last 24 hours. But go and read our commentary section channel in our Discord. You can see all the great feedback. But I'll include a few of your thoughts now. Starpoint said, even as someone who doesn't love RPGs as a whole, there is just so much for me to love about Mother 3. From its engaging and wacky story to its wonderfully chunky sprite work to its absolutely legendary soundtrack composed by Shogo Sakai of Kirby and Smash fame, this game makes me sing out a smashing song of praise every time it's brought up. It's the perfect example of what a console swan song can be, fully utilizing the amazing capabilities of the GBA's wonderful colors, and even makes good use of the console's relatively weak sound chip. Definitely a breath of fresh air after the interesting presentation of last week's game. I strongly recommend this game and consider it not only one of the best RPGs ever made, but one of the best games Nintendo has ever made.
Wow. I mean, it is quality. It is.
That is a
this game is well loved, and I think we all liked it. But I think some of the folks that are like cultishly fanatic about this game
Sure.
will slit throats.
Yeah, I know. I'm not that, but it's quality.
Let's very quickly top 5 JRPGs of all time according to you. Absolutely no to me, Kenny.
No.
Nolan.
I don't think so.
Top. It might break my top 10 though.
It might break top 5. It might
It's
be
for
5.
sure top 20 for me. It might break top 10.
It might be 5 just because of how different it is from the rest in the list.
Hey, all of that is completely fair.
Okay.
Garlisle said 200 episodes with the podcast, and this game is surely worthy of the occasion.
This was
Garlisle, this is number 200 for Garlisle. This week,
Great.
I'm tuning in. Garlisle is going to do
I saw.
a ranking of all 200 games that Garlisle's played with us.
Oh, you know
That's
I'm
so
there, baby.
fun.
That's so
So much
sick,
fun.
and what a good one to be number
Yeah.
200. That's awesome.
Garlisle continues, I could say that I've never felt as attached to its cast and simple gameplay as others. I could nitpick the rhythm, system's execution, and the way it's at functional opposition with the rolling HP, but those would be nitpicks, and I'd be lying to pretend it's bad. Mother 3 has a reputation for its surprisingly strong emotional beats
Yes.
and memorable world, and really, that's what people are playing it for. And at that, it certainly has earned its reputation as one of the most notable Japan-only titles out there. I will give it that.
Yep.
For sure. I do think the emotional side of the story is like a real good reason to play the game. If you don't care about any of the other things we've been talking about, it's genuinely good to sign off on that story.
Yeah. Dom said Mother 3 is a fantastic progression from Mother 2, also known as Earthbound, and demonstrates the strong GBA catalog. While building on the quirky and whimsical humor of the franchise, this game introduces a focus on narrative with more serious toned scenes that will tug at your heartstrings. Although I wouldn't describe the gameplay as innovative for an RPG, I think everyone needs to experience Mother 3 for the presentation and story alone. This is a must-play New Game Plus from me.
A need to experience game. Do you think we'll get a remake or a remaster of this series
Yes. Oh, I don't know about the
the game of Mother 3?
I think they will remake
Earthbound.
a game and produce it as Mother, and it is 1, 2, and 3, at least abbreviated
Ooh,
versions.
that'd be sick.
That could be cool.
That'd
Yeah,
be
sick.
good. I'd buy that.
I'm not holding my
Finally-
breath, but I'd like it if they did.
Dave, our own graphic designer, said, Mother 3, no game has been so perfect and come out at a worse time. Thanks to an absolutely wonderful
Yeah.
fan translation, we can enjoy this Japanese-only RPG. One thing that Mother series does so well is the fact that if you're an American, you can really enjoy all the references and cultural nuances in a very interesting way. It's almost as if a Japanese developer said, I really want to make a game that taps into the 1950s American culture, but with a twist. Mother 3 is one of the most heartfelt RPGs I've ever played, and with its beautiful score, it really encapsulates a mood that I never really thought was possible on a GBA. If you love old school RPGs and Earthbound and have somehow not played this one, you owe it to yourself to download the 1.3 translation and give it a whirl. New Game Plus from me.
Saying the worst timing thing is true. The DS was already out, guys. This almost went
maybe-
to another console.
I think there's probably two components that made it not release in A. I think the adult themes
Sure.
is a part of it. Like there's a gravity there that Nintendo wasn't messing with for a while.
Yeah.
And then the coming out in 2006 for the GBA, I think it was kind of done at that
They wanted
point.
DS only.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was more the second than the first, which is still unfortunate, but yeah.
They took their
Again,
time.
thank you for sending in your thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week. You can do that each and every week by emailing us at ngppodcast@gmail.com or visiting our Discord. We've got a commentary channel there that you can submit your thoughts, and we'll try to include it as a part of our episode next week. But for now, we're going to set aside Mother 3, secretly continue to play it, and randomly select from our Retro Master List. Next week, we will pull from the Patreon pool. But this week, it's completely random from our Retro Master List. Randomizing now. I'm not entirely sure how this happened,
Mother 4.
Okay.
but we are going to be going to the year 1986
Whew. Okay. Old.
for the Nintendo
Ooh.
Entertainment System.
Good.
Okay.
It is a platform video game.
Good.
and we have played more than one in the series already.
Could be anything, Kenny. Right?
Let me narrow it down for you because it was developed and published by a small group called Konami. Guys.
Okay.
We're playing a game where we control a character named Simon Belmont.
Oh!
Who enters the castle of Count Dracula to
Are
destroy him.
Are you?
When he suddenly reappears 100 years after Simon's ancestor vanquished him. It's not a part of the summer pool party, but for the next 7 days, we're playing Castlevania.
Holy crap.
Dustin, you said the first game of the pool party sets the tone for the summer. And
Look.
Mother 3 was a banger.
Look what happened.
We on theme.
This is
Are
my
we
year.
about to have an on and all weeks are on? No on and off, and off?
Yes, when I said that the first one
Yes.
decides the summer, I meant when we get out of the pool for a snack. And this is a snack. This is the snack. This is
insane.
a dinner.
Yeah, this is more than a snack. We eating hamburgers up in here.
I don't think I played it.
The first one?
Yeah.
I have, and you will get angry. But you're in for a treat. It's hard.
But we'll be angry.
Ghosts and Goblins hard?
It's
No,
NES.
no, it's not Ghosts and Goblins hard. Don't
NES hard.
It's NES hard, and it's so good.
If you are listening to this, find a copy of what is ranked the best video game ever made by Game Informer and Nintendo Power.
Super Gamer Guy's gonna freak.
This is the weirdest thing that's ever happened because it's not a Patreon pool. Find a copy of Castlevania played along with us this week.
Listen, guys, we recently hit a huge milestone with our Discord server. We hit over 1,000 members, which is
so cool.
actually insane. I blame the couch co-op in making that happen, but it doesn't have to stop. We need to get to 100. We need to get 1,500 in order to be able to consider for a partnership. And so we need you to join our Discord. If you're listening for a while and you want to be part of the community, give commentary on the game, hang out with other cool people, go to discord.gg/newgameplus.
We could get to 20,000 Discord listeners overnight if all of you would just get 20 of your friends and force them to hop in the Discord with you.
He's right, dude.
I'm right. It's not even hard. Math.
You think gamers have 20 friends?
No.
I excel.
Sad.
I excel at math. You know who else is great at math? People smart enough to invest in supporting New Game Plus on patreon.com. We've got an amazing and wildly growing, after last week's couch co-op and our free trial, onboarding some folks, list of people who support New Game Plus. And so we want to say thank you to this large list of folks, including our newest patrons that are here for more than just a free trial, including Kyle's Fuji Prince, Bihan, the Nerd Chief, Grim Monkey, Steve H., Norm McLennan, Dr. Gamblin, Colin Thompson, Lee Jansen, Bastius, Rosemorn, Jake Rosler, Josh Tice, Mark Miller, Gringe, Ararius, Felipe Gonzalez, Chunkafunk, Steven Silverwright, Amy Carlson, Allegedly's, and Epy.
Wow.
Don't care. I'll say it however I want.
Y'all think Aura is a capitalist now?
Yeah, totally. He sold out.
Want to also say thank you to our producer level supporters who are hanging out in the pool with us. We think you're magic. Including Adam, Alex, Marlene, Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunk, DH Bowser, Ellis, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbin, J. Robert, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Clint, Nick Nack, Corey, Levi, Maxima, Pedro, Sage, and Shauna, Subsonic, Demon, Tasselhoff, Thomas, Unbedavable, and Zion. To our directors, you live in our hearts. You do too much, and we appreciate you. Bro Jim, Daniel, Garlisle, and Super Hypered. And it's a full room, but there's room for more. Come on.
Ooh.
Always.
Come to patreon.com/NGP podcast.
He did
Join
it
the
right.
family.
The end. He knows the end.
Castlevania, can you believe it? Holy.
We'd love to see you there. Come and be a part of the summer pool party because it's gonna be
Dude, epic.
Is lit still what the kids say?
Oh, absolutely not.
It's going to be yeet.
Not.
You can find us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. Listen directly while you're on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. You can also leave a kind rating and review like this Spotify review from Allus. Allus said, "Love your podcast. My dad made me listen to it, but I have started listening to it more than him, and I myself like shooty bang bang games. So, if you are a parent, force your child to listen. And if you like shooty bang bang games, you might even like our podcast, even though we don't like shooty bang bang
My
games."
dad made me listen is the funniest review that we've gotten.
I love
That's
it so much.
So good. Our video episode was edited and produced by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode this week was produced by our returning friend Tom Tate.
Aww.
Old school.
Love Tom.
And
Love Tom.
You know what? I need to say, all of those amazing graphics and thumbnails on YouTube are created by Dave,
Davey
who
boy.
joined the team just recently, doing a
Crushing it.
phenomenal job.
He's killing it.
Love those thumbnails. Did y'all know that he's in a band?
No.
That's fun.
Dave and his wife are in a band, and they recently released a song dedicated to video games. It's called Video Games.
Okay, that's easy.
Aptly named.
If you search on YouTube for video games, you might find this music video.
Eventually.
Yeah, their SEO game is on point.
Yeah, well, Dave knows his stuff, how you can find it. But an indie rock album, the band is called Color Crush. You can check out their video
Did you say
game
Color Crush?
inspired. Not Candy Crush.
I say
Color Crush. Oh, okay. Candy Crush is the game, right?
Right.
But if you're listening, we'll link that in the show notes. You can check it out.
Yeah.
Join us next week as we play Castlevania. I'm still just
Or
baffled.
Castlevania.
Until then, I'm Mother 1.
I'm Mother 2.
I'm Mother 3.
Oh my gosh, we did it! And this has been Mother Game Plus!